Greetings, friends. I am Matthew Knabe, licensed professional counselor. You are listening to Experience Emerge. Today we will dive into another conversation about the broken and fractured aspects of our lives. Then we will discuss how we put these pieces back together again to find rest and live free. C.S. Lewis once said, "Miracles are a retelling in small letters of the very same story which is written across the whole world in letters too large for some of us to see." In today's episode, we are going to explore a story in hopes to gain a little bit of perspective on those larger letters. Giving Tuesday is right around the corner, and in this episode, we will discuss a really important subgroup of parents that often do not get enough attention. I am so happy to be a part of a ministry that thinks outside the box. Without giving it away, I hope this episode gets our listeners excited about this opportunity to bless a population that really needs it. Today, our guest is going to share her story becoming a parent and why we need to raise money for this group of wonderful people. Please welcome to the show, Emily Hamrick.
Thank you for having me on, Matt. I am Emily Hamrick, and I am a licensed independent social worker. I graduated actually not as a social worker. When I was in my undergrad, I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Justice Studies. And so I started my career out as a domestic violence advocate. I worked in a domestic violence shelter. And then following that, I worked as a victim advocate through Victim Assistance Program for a few years. And it was through that work that led me to going back to school to become a social worker. And so I graduated with my master's in 2013. I had my license in social work shortly after I graduated, and I began to do counseling at another agency. And I worked there for just about 7 years. I came to Emerge. It was an interesting string of events that brought me to Emerge, and I came to Emerge in March of 2020. So I started at Emerge the day after everything shut down.
Wow.
Which was a very interesting way to start a new job, but God has blessed me so much, and it's been very fruitful since I've been here.
So in going to get your master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
at that point in time, what do you think in your mind you were wanting to do with that degree?
Well, at the time when I went back to school, I had been working with victims of crime. And so when I first started to go to school, my intent was to stay where I was at and just kind of further my career in the victim service field. And then just through some different things, I ended up getting an internship at another program where I worked with people with disabilities. Developmental disabilities and cognitive disabilities, and I loved it so much, and they enjoyed having me there. So they ended up hiring me from my internship there, and then I stayed there. So I stayed there for quite a while, and I loved it. But my, I guess my whole goal in my career since I graduated college was I just wanted to help people. And so I've just kind of gone where I've been led to go, and just where I feel like, God is taking me and things like that. And so he brought me to Emerge, which has been very amazing. It's been a wonderful experience.
So you and I have been on Zoom calls, but because of the pandemic and me not working since it started, we've never actually met in person, I don't think, have we?
No, we have not. And there's quite a few of my colleagues that I haven't met yet in person.
It's interesting that we're kind of finally having this conversation, yet we worked for the same company for quite a while, but hopefully things will at some point go back to normal. Tell me about your time.
Yes.
How has it been since you started at Emerge, and what kind of population are you working with now?
Right now, who I work with is, really, there's not much of a limit on the population that I'll work with. So I have some experience in trauma and some training in trauma, and I have, I would say, I'll work with kids ages 5+, and then adult, and just with a variety of things, a lot of things having to do with trauma, domestic violence, depression, anxiety, things like
Yeah.
that.
And so we're having you on the show because we're going to be talking a little bit later about Giving Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I think Emerge has made a commitment that I think is really unique and is going to be really interesting to share with the community. And I'm really excited about it. I've been able to talk to a few people who have been in positions where they're very connected with the topic we're going to be talking about. And I don't know that a lot of people have thought about the angle that we're going to be doing at Emerge to raise some money for a specific population of people that I think probably go under the radar much too often. And so I'm super excited. But before we get to that, and if that's not a tease, I don't know what is. I'd really like to hear a little bit about your connection and why we wanted to have you on the show, and then allow you to kind of share what we're going to be doing at Emerge for Giving Tuesday this year.
Sure. I was approached by one of my colleagues here, Christy Levy, for it was not long ago, just a few months ago. She had heard through another one of our colleagues that I am a foster parent. My husband and I are foster parents. And she had talks with Pamela Crosby before I ever even started at Emerge about reaching out to the foster parents and their families. And then she had heard that I was a foster parent, and so she wanted to pick my brain, and it kind of took off from there. So so that's kind of my connection to what it is that we're doing with Giving Tuesday and things. So I just a little bit of that background. My husband and I have been foster parents for 2 years. We just got our recertification approval. So it's officially been 2 years. The process started long before that. So for me, the process started, or at least the thought of being a foster parent started when I was a teenager, believe it or not.
Wow.
I had read a set of books in high school that just really, it was an autobiography set of books. And so it really brought to light some of the horrific child abuse that's out there. And then it was in this one person's particular situation. And then through the set of books, it was also some of the trials and tribulations that person went through in foster care system at the time. Now, this was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And then kind of how that person ended up making it out through adulthood and things like that. And so when I read that, it just started in my heart, and I think it just grew from there. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember ever telling anybody about it. It just was something that was in my mind. And I just thought, oh, it's someday I'll do that. It was kind of one of those someday dreams that I had. And then when I met my husband, we had been together for several years before we got married, and he knew that was kind of one of the things, but it was still always a someday dream. We'll do that after we have our own kids. I have a wonderful stepdaughter, and she's absolutely amazing, but we were also talking about having kids together as well. And then after that, maybe we would do the foster, possibly adopt or something like that. And that was kind of the plan for a little while. We were engaged. We got engaged in 2016. No, we got married in 2016. We got engaged in 2015. Mm-hmm. And then later in the year in 2015, my mom got sick. And so kind of everything turned upside down. She was diagnosed with breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And so we were planning a wedding. My mom got sick. We ended up bumping up our wedding just in case. And she did wonderfully on the medication that she was on and things like that. And so we kind of put those plans on hold. We weren't thinking about having children. We weren't thinking about adopting children, fostering children, anything like that. We were just kind of in the moment, present, and where we needed to be. Like, we had enough with planning a wedding, but then, I had extra doctor appointments for my mom and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so we got married in 2016. We were still kind of moving along, just with everything that was going on. And then my mom's health, as she started to kind of deteriorate a little bit in her health, it just popped up again for me. And I just looked at my husband one day and I said, what are we waiting for? Why not now? Why are we waiting until we have all of our ducks in a row? And why are we waiting until all this stuff? And so I think for me, it was a life is short moment. And it was nothing short of a God moment. Just to say, your time is now. And I put this on your heart and you've been sitting on it for too long. Mm-hmm. And God love my husband. He is along for the ride. Yeah. And he's been amazing, because as soon as I said that to him, he just sat there for a second and he said, okay. And so, so then we went into, shortly before my mom died in 2017, we went to our first informational meeting, and that kind of it would give us a lot of information. It also produced a little bit of hesitation, which I think is part of the design, to make sure that people really want to do this. Yeah. And so then we waited several months. It was several months after my mom passed away before I said I was ready. And my amazing husband just let me kind of guide that process. And then we started our training classes. And so all of that was in 2017. And it took us into 2018, October of 2018, before we were officially certified. And so from there, our journey just started. We found out that we got certified, that our application and everything was approved, when they called and asked us if we would take a placement. So nobody had actually told us yet that we were approved.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was interesting. I was at work and I had a random phone call, and I think I did all the nervous beginning stuff. So we ended up, we've had several placements so far, and younger children. We currently have a placement, and one that was with us for quite a while. We had two little guys that came to us a couple of months after we got certified, or we got licensed as foster parents. Mm-hmm. And so they came to us shortly before Christmas in 2018. And we were kind of told at the beginning that they really have typical needs. There's not really anything, probably only be here maybe 30 days. That'll probably be the max, and all of that. And so a year and a half later, they went home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A year and a half later. And so there's so much that goes into parenting in general. You're a parent, I believe. And so, there's so much that goes into parenting in general. And then, but it's a little bit different when you have a child who was not born to you and who already came with connections and comes with other family and other friends and that kind of thing. And it's just such a unique experience. And then to have them be a part of your family for so long. These two in particular, we still have a relationship with them, which is kind of the unique part of it. So they went home earlier this year, May, they went home. And so that they had been with us for a year and a half. They basically felt like they were our children. And in some instances, that's the case. They really do feel that way. And that's the purpose. The children need families. And
how hard is that to bond and attach with these two little ones for over a year, mm-hmm. and then have to get to that point where it's coming to an end?
Yeah. So in the foster care system, it's the goal is always reunification mm-hmm. with the families until it's not. And so the goal is always, you're always looking to the time when they're going to leave you as foster parents, or as the foster home. They're going to leave. They're going to end up returning wherever that may be, whether it's with the parents, their families, their, things like that. And so that's always the goal. And we totally understood that. We knew exactly what we were getting into. We did not feel slighted. We didn't feel like we didn't know what was happening. But then there comes a point when it actually hits you that it's really happening. And that is, for lack of a better word, devastating. As happy as you are that they're getting to go where they need to be, and as happy as you are that their parents or their family, whoever it is that is going to be with them, as happy as you are that they, in my case, as happy as we are, that they've been able to get back to that and to maintain those relationships. It was still devastating. It felt like a major, major loss for us.
Yeah. Was there any thought that it was maybe fostered to adopt in that situation, or that was never on the table?
It's always a possibility. We're open to that no matter what. But it's never a promise. It's never, that kind of thing. So it's always just kind of like, are you open to it? Yes or no? Okay. But that's not really the focus. And so, and every situation is different, but in our case, we haven't ever had somebody that said, hey, here's a placement and you're probably going to adopt these children. That's not really kind of how it works, or at least not how it's worked for us at any time. We have been approached more than once about possible adoptions. So that in itself is kind of a roller coaster, because then you're waiting to hear something and then, oh wait, but this is the reason why that might not work out and things like that. So, but in our particular situation, this one that I'm talking about right now was not one that was ever offered to like move forward with that. Everything, we had always kind of known where it was going and what was happening.
So then what happens after that?
There's a series of hearings and things like that. And you work with the caseworkers and you work with the courts and you work with, whoever else it is. And then it's, as a foster parent, it's usually someone else who decides a date, someone else who decides, like what's going to happen in the process that's going to happen. And it's always a little bit different depending on so many different variables. In our case, we got to spend, I think, a couple extra weekends and things trying to help with the transition. And then it was just, they picked a date and said, here, this is the date that that they officially have to be returned. And so that's what we did. And we packed them up and we took them to their forever home. And they have been frequent visitors to us ever since that time. So we've been able to build a relationship not only with them, but with some of their family as well, and with their mom. And she has been amazing in letting us see them. And they come over all the time, almost every weekend. That's got to be pretty rare. Yeah, I know of instances like that. I know that we're not the only ones that have ever done that, but I don't think that it happens often enough. For us, we feel incredibly blessed because we were able to build a relationship that we're now able to maintain outside of the original reason, the original relationship that we had with them. So then after that, have you continued to foster? Yes. Yeah. So we currently have a placement right now. And for what it's worth, as far as, with us, my husband and I talking back and forth, we're going to continue for a while. It can get really hard and a little bit daunting at times, just with the system and, all of that kind of stuff. And maybe this might help to lead kind of into some of our Giving Tuesday stuff. But there was a recent statistic that I found, or I saw somewhere, was that about 51% of foster parents quit after their first year. And things like that. And so being that we've been in it for 2 years, we're not part of that 51%, thankfully, but we can certainly understand it with all the different things that we've seen and heard, and the differences in the system itself, and the allowances for certain things and not for other things, and that kind of thing. What might be for people who are maybe thinking about this, or maybe God's calling them and they're not really sure if they're ready to dive in. What might be some of the stressors that you would experience in those first couple of years? For us, a lot of it had to do with, maybe it isn't the right way to say it, but kind of a lack of control with everything. It's that you're there, in our case, for tiny human beings, that you have to parent and support and do things for and help, and then maintaining relationships with other people who they're already connected to, and that kind of thing. And so, but then there's a lot of, I guess, lack of decision making is maybe kind of not necessarily the control, but there's certain decisions you have to ask for things that if you had your own biological children, you would never have to ask for. And it could be little things. It could be, taking them to the doctor, taking them for a haircut, certain things that just certain rules and guidelines that you have to follow that maybe for your own children, for your own biological children, it's not even a concern or an issue, or anything really that you'd even thought about. So that's definitely one of the stressors. Another one of the stressors, I think, is just learning a whole new system. If as a new foster parent, as a social worker, I feel like I had a little bit of a heads up on kind of how the system worked, but it's different being in the middle of the system and just kind of learning those rules and the regulations. And we've been blessed with a lot of support, both in the system and with our families and friends and things like that. But just finding your supports and learning, it's just a whole different ballgame, I think. Yeah. And you get into it for a particular reason to be able to do it, whether you want to help children, whether I've heard stories of infertility before, I've heard just different reasons why people want to do it, kinship versus foster care, different things like that. But there's rules for everything, and there's usually a guideline and someone that you have to ask for this or that, or, anything like that. And so that's a major stressor. Yeah. Because they'll call you, and it could be in the middle of the night. It could be when it's convenient. Other times it's not when it's convenient. And you're making adjustments and having to learn a whole set of new rules.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm super excited. I want you to share what Emerge Ministries has decided to do for this year's Giving Tuesday. Tell us about what we're doing and what's all involved.
I've been so blessed to be a part of this for Giving Tuesday. It's we're opening up for a Fostering Hope Fund. And we're hoping to use Giving Tuesday as a way to provide funds for foster parents and foster families to receive the counseling and support that we can provide through Emerge Counseling Ministries, and at little or no cost to them, to the foster parents and the foster families. And this, in a sense, is Emerge's response to some of the needs that we've heard from foster families, from extended families of foster parents, from children of foster parents, things like that. We're hoping to provide free counseling services and support to about 250 foster families. And so through Giving Tuesday, which is a global generosity initiative that happens the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, we're hoping to raise funds through that. We are participating in that we're hoping to raise $25,000 to be able to provide support to those 250 foster families.
So December 1st is the date.
Yes.
And what we're doing is on Giving Tuesday, providing a outlet for people to donate and give money. And our goal is to raise $25,000 to help get foster families free counseling.
Yes.
For 250 families.
Yes.
I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
I really think about that group of people who are really sacrificing in ways that we just don't appreciate on a regular basis. I think the families that foster are really in the trenches with a lot of the issues and the things that are going on in the world that many of us don't think twice about. And to be able to provide this for them, and especially for, a lot of these families may not have insurance and different things. So this is a huge thing, because I just think that this group of people who are sacrificing their homes and their lives and their routines and, often get looked over. And so I was so excited to hear that this year that was the population of people we were going to support.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. Actually, it's so interesting because there are so many supports that are available, at least that I'm aware of, that are available to foster children, to children that enter care and things like that. But you're right. Oftentimes there's not a lot left over for the foster parents and things. And so this is a great resource to be able to just reach out and provide some of that necessary care, because with that 51% of foster parents that maybe quit in the first year, I would be interested to see how many quit after subsequent years. And the things, there are hardships that go on. Your life has changed dramatically whenever you all of a sudden have a new member or multiple new members of your family, and things like that. And so the support that we'll be able to provide, we're hoping that is going to be a way to help nurture and alleviate some of those concerns, especially mental health concerns. And the added stressors and things that come along with fostering or life in general while you're also trying to be a foster parent. And so we're hoping to help build stronger families and stronger units, and just help to nurture what's in it for the foster parents as they live out their calling as well.
Yeah. You wonder if that 51% during that first year would have sought out counseling or had counseling provided for them, would year two be more reasonable, with some of the things that you're experiencing in year one, and maybe they don't have the options for that. So this is something I think that is great, that, could really move the needle on some of the issues that we face with fostering, and especially in those first couple years. Where do people go if they want to be a part of this and give and donate?
Emerge.org. We have a donation tab right there.
Great.
As always, they can reach out to Emerge in any way. They can reach out to me or to Pamela Crosby. If they're seeking more information, if anyone is seeking more information and just wants to learn how to help, we'll be reaching out as well to try to do some giving trees within some local churches, as well, to help with raising funds, but also raising supplies so that we can use the supplies that are needed to be able to provide the services that we do.
Well, Emily, I so appreciate you. I appreciate your heart for fostering, and really, I think it's great that you came to Emerge, and then all of a sudden this is the initiative that we're running this year, and you have a connection with that, and putting you involved in the team that's really pushing for Giving Tuesday, I think is all awesome. And God bless you for doing that. And God bless you and your husband for really being obedient from a calling that you had as a teenager, to be able to see that through in adulthood. I think that's pretty a miraculous thing. I think a lot of times we get these callings at a young age and we don't often see them through, but you certainly did.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time today, Matt.
Thank you, Emily, for being so open with your story. This is really a great opportunity for us to gift foster parents on Giving Tuesday this year. Please visit emerge.org/Giving Tuesday to be a part of this unique event. Thank you for listening to the ExEm podcast. Give us a like if you enjoyed this, and share it with your friends and family and coworkers. Please visit our social media sites to connect with what Emerge Ministries is all about. Well, until next time, or until our Savior comes, God bless.